Picture this. A single decision by a desperate leader that turned everyday citizens into billionaires overnight, only for their fortunes to vanish in flames, sparking riots and regimes that hid unimaginable atrocities. What if the most powerful empires crumbled not from wars, but from a silent killer lurking in your wallet, with scandals so explosive they reshaped the world map? Hold on, because buried in these tales are horrifying betrayals, ruthless grabs for power, and chilling escapes that barely anyone survived intact. By the end, you'll uncover the mind-blowing patterns that could foreshadow CHAO's today, including one overlooked trigger that experts fear might strike again soon. Don't click away. The most jaw-dropping secrets are revealed only at the close, and they might just save your financial future. Envision rising at dawn to discover that the nest egg you'd built over decades, once ample for securing a home, now scarcely covers basic staples. Your earnings evaporate in value before they even hit your account, forcing folks to haul currency in carts rather than pockets. This isn't some nightmarish fiction. It's the harsh reality of extreme price surges, a phenomenon that's struck far more frequently than commonly acknowledged. We often view currency as a reliable anchor, something dependable, yet past events prove it's anything but. The most severe episodes didn't merely erode personal funds. They toppled administrations, splintered households, and dismantled vast dominions. These economic infernos ravaged communities, laying bare the vulnerability inherent in our monetary frameworks. As we delve into how 5 nations witnessed their currencies disintegrate into oblivion and the profound toll it exacted, keep in mind that rising costs don't always announce themselves boldly. They insinuate gradually, murmur softly, and by the point awareness strikes the masses, escape routes have narrowed dramatically. Beginning with a pivotal moment in Europe, consider the aftermath of a global conflict in the early 1920s within a nation burdened by overwhelming obligations. Defeated in battle, this country faced punitive demands amounting to astronomical sums in precious metal equivalents, burdens that spanned lifetimes to settle. In response, authorities ramped up production of notes, initially appearing controllable. Soon, however, values escalated twofold, then threefold, spiraling uncontrollably. By late autumn of that year, the local unit had plummeted to near insignificance. Essentials like baked goods demanded hundreds of billions in exchange. Residents resorted to igniting bundles for heat, while youngsters fashioned toys from stacks of bills. Established households saw accumulated reserves dissolve rapidly. Beyond the fiscal ruin, the erosion extended to societal bonds. When confidence in the medium of exchange falters, foundational elements, trade agreements, preserved funds, compensations, unravel entirely. This monetary breakdown sowed seeds for broader unrest, fostering environments ripe for radical shifts. Within a mere 10 years, a new order emerged, rooted partly in the lingering scars of fiscal distress. Shifting continents to a southern African state in the dawn of the new millennium, leadership grappled with external pressures and internal upheavals that disrupted key sectors like farming. Policies aimed at redistribution disrupted output, prompting officials to accelerate note issuance once more. The familiar descent ensued, culminating in rates soaring to tens of billions % annually. Values halved daily, prompting denominations to balloon with additional digits, millions, billions, even trillions. Ultimately, abandonment of the native tender occurred, with adoption of external options like neighboring or overseas units. The repercussions transcended ledger entries. Retirement funds vanished, sectors imploded, and waves of displaced individuals sought stability elsewhere. Enduring value resided solely in tangible holdings, expertise, or durable goods that withstood the turmoil. Rewinding to the mid-1940s in a Central European land reeling from another worldwide strife, devastation prompted frantic efforts to rebuild amid mounting liabilities. A novel tender was introduced and proliferated at breakneck speeds to address shortfalls. At its zenith, costs multiplied every quarter day, with escalation touching quadrillions %, a numeral defying easy comprehension. Successive denominations emerged, each scaling up by factors of millions or billions, yet insufficiency persisted. Complete overhaul followed, transitioning to a fresh standard. The fallout was comprehensive. Intermediate strata were decimated, accounts nullified, and institutional credibility evaporated. This upheaval didn't merely recalibrate finances, it obliterated historical accumulations, compelling a stark restart. Venturing southward to a resource-abundant territory in recent decades, abundant reserves in energy contrasted with governance marred by graft, regulatory clamps, asset seizures, and imprudent fiscal maneuvers. Once prosperous regionally, it devolved into a stark exemplar. To bridge gaps and sustain initiatives, printing intensified, igniting runaway escalation exceeding millions %. Compensation required immediate expenditure to preserve worth, shelves barrened, informal exchanges resurfaced, and skilled professionals emigrated for menial roles overseas. Serial revaluations stripped multiples of digits from notes, but underlying harms lingered, economic vitality sapped, essential services frayed, and populations dispersed widely. Survival hinged on concrete possessions or alternative tenders. Exploring a lesser-known instance from the closing years of the last century in a Balkan region, fragmentation following geopolitical realignments compounded by conflict, embargoes, and oversight lapses precipitated downfall. Monthly surges hit hundreds of millions %, with doublings occurring bi-daily. Repeated introductions of revised tenders aimed at stabilization, each nullifying prior holdings. Parallel use of stable foreign mediums became commonplace for endurance, rendering the domestic variant obsolete for practical purposes beyond novelty. The cycle mirrored predecessors. Crises prompt excess creation, assurance dissipates, systems fracture repeatedly across varied locales and eras. One might dismiss these as relics of bygone eras, assuming contemporary wisdom prevails. Yet, scrutinize present landscapes. Worldwide borrowings eclipse historical peaks, with one major power loan surpassing 30 quadrillion in commitments, escalating steadily. Monetary authorities globally have infused vast sums over recent periods to bolster activities, curb borrowing costs, and invigorate exchanges. Temporarily, stability appeared intact, moderate rises, sustained expansion, until disruptions mounted. Recent years witnessed accelerations triggered by logistical bottlenecks, regional tensions, resource volatility, and the accumulated influx of fresh liquidity. Responses pivoted to stringent adjustments, unsettling valuations, while ordinary individuals, distant from prior boons, endured pressures like heightened living expenses and stagnant remunerations. Queries resurface. What constitutes value? Who steers it? What ensues upon faith's fracture? We're distant from extremes presently, but indicators flicker, not solely in valuations but in prevailing attitudes, the notion that endless expansion resolves deep-seated flaws, or perpetual deferral evades reckoning. Such premises echo those harbored in prior afflicted zones. Today's distinction lies in interconnectedness, leverage dependency, and reliance on oversight bodies. A widespread erosion could cascade universally. This pivots to personal agency. While macro levers elude grasp, individual safeguards remain controllable: allocations, routines, outlooks. Insights from these episodes underscore that genuine prosperity transcends notations. It embodies acquisition capacity through terrain, proficiencies, sturdy holdings, relational webs, and personal fortitude. In each narrative, ephemeral wealth dissipated, yet producers of intrinsic utility persevered. Furthermore, assurance forms the bedrock. Mediums falter not from material degradation but perceptual shifts, accelerating unpredictably and resisting restoration. Escalations disproportionately burden the vulnerable, amplifying swiftly and striking those with narrow margins most acutely. Authorities might dilute obligations, but personal outlays resist such maneuvers. Thus, informed awareness serves as a shield, not merely an enhancer. Contemporary defenses entail comprehending mechanisms over naive reliance, curtailing avoidable encumbrances, broadening holdings beyond conventional arenas, perhaps incorporating resilient stores, acquiring timeless competencies, or crafting sustainable existences. Above all, recognize escalating costs as covert impositions, gradual diminishments of autonomy unless countered astutely. These historical pinnacles stemmed from flawed directives, strife, evasion, overconfidence, and the fallacy of boundless creation sans fallout. Armed with this awareness, patterns clarify, equipping responses to skeptics asserting immunity. Echoes may not duplicate precisely, yet ignorance invites peril. If this broadened your horizons, consider following. Past lessons illuminate paths ahead.